Good evening, everybody, and hope you're getting into the holiday spirit. I'd like to call the regular business meeting of the La Habra Heights City Council, December 9th, 2024, to order. Roll call, Mr. Pespiza.
Here.
Mr. Laherty.
Here.
Mr. Bergman.
Here.
Mr. Zazula.
Here.
And I'm here. John, will you lead us in the flag salute? Do we have to report on closed session?
We did discuss a matter in the special meeting portion of the agenda right before this, and we have no reportable action at this time. That is all.
Okay. Presentations, commendations, and proclamations.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have one tonight. Our Fire Marshal, Albert Alcalde, is retiring, so we just wanted to thank him for his time and effort and he has spent here with the City of La Habra Heights. As our Fire Marshal, I'd like to see if I could welcome Chief Alcalde down along with the chiefs, and we can say a few kind words about him.
Well, first off, okay, no. Al Alcalde, our fire marshal for 2 years, at least. Al Alcalde, when I first came into the city of La Habra Heights, he was a mentor to me. He was able to guide me through the tumultuous waters that I had to navigate when I first came in to take over the department. His counsel has always been good for me, and I think he's done a wonderful job as our fire marshal, making sure that we stay ahead of our brush clearance program. It's our pleasure to offer him a city street. Chief Alcalde.
Neat.
Chief Alcalde will be going to Vegas and retiring, and he is going to be missed. Al Alcalde.
I wrote down some notes because I wanted to make sure I covered everything. And so I'll be brief. So, 40 plus years in the fire service, about 5 years total here in La Habra Heights. I started when I was 24 and kind of did everything from being a firefighter to fire chief at one point. But I have to say, typically your first department, is held in your heart. The 5 years here is also just as strong. So just a couple of thanks. All the groups, the council has been very supportive. Obviously the city manager, Rafferty, and all the staff here, Chief Bruckheiser, working with everyone here. Really strong team. They work very hard. So everybody here, although we have a small staff, they all work very hard. Got to thank our vegetation management contractors that work with us, Cal Arborist, Alpine Meadows, Coleman Landscaping. Those are the big three that I've worked with quite often to provide service to the community. So that's been great too. Then I also have to mention the partners I worked with, Habitat Authority. I see Matrix is here. LA County, SoCal Edison, SoCal Gas, all those folks work real close with us. So also EPC, I'll say I almost forgot you guys, Quan, but working with that group. Just have to say finally, I think all the residents that I've met, hopefully I've met a few folks since I've been here the last 2.5 years. The first stint I was here, I was mainly in the office. This last 2.5 years, I've been out and about more often, so got to meet a lot of the great residents. Finally, I'm going to be probably residing part-time in California and then in Las Vegas, as was mentioned. My next big goal is I'm going to be doing track and field officiating. So if you like watching track and field on the TV, you probably will see me dodging a javelin or a discus or something, because that's where they're going to put me. So thank you very much. Thank you for the sign. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
I just want to say that Chief Alcalde is one of the most patient and gentlemanly people I've ever dealt with, and I wish him the best in the future. It's a tough job because although most Heights residents understand the need for the brush and understand the limits, sometimes not everyone is totally acceptance. So thanks, Al, and good luck. Anybody else want to say anything? Okay, we'll go on to public comment. I have one card from Christabel, I assume Garcia.
Hello and good afternoon. I just want to congratulate Carol and Greg for a very good election. I know this is my first time running, and I was able to see how you guys know a lot of people in Habra Heights, and I just want to congratulate you guys for the positions that you guys are going to be in today. I also wanted to speak on it was about the Puente Hills Habitat Preservation Authority, number 23. And I believe that we should move forward with this because it is a very important thing in the Heights and also with Puente Hills. I have read that they do stuff with the Girl Scouts, and as someone who was a brownie, I think it's really good that we continue to preserve the habitats and just anything that has to do related with that. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, municipal election matters.
Thank you, Mayor. This item before you is the results of the November 5th, 2024 general municipal elections. The city filed with the Los Angeles County Recorder Register's Office for an election of 2 council members. Through that, the Recorder Clerk's Office canvassed all of our districts and elections, and through their accounts, the proposed resolution that's attached to your agenda declares that Carol Engelhardt and Greg Steffler elected to the La Habra Heights City Council for a 4-year term ending in November of 2028. The recommendation tonight is to accept the official certificate of election results prepared by the Los Angeles County Registrar Recorder Clerk's Office and adopt Resolution 2024-30, declaring the results of the general municipal election held on November 5th, 2024. If you have any questions, happy to answer them for you.
Any questions? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bergman?
Yes.
Mr. Laherty?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Pespisa?
Yes.
And Mr. Zazula?
Yes.
Thank you. Now we honor our outgoing councilperson, Dennis Laherty.
If you don't mind, I'd like to get us kicked off and started with the recommending and the comments related to Councilmember Laherty. Through my time here at the City of La Habra Heights, I've been able to work with Mr. Laherty in a few different capacities. When I first started, he was the chair of the Roads Advisory Committee. So in my early days, I was able to work with him in the Roads Committee on their valiant efforts that they led to try to find a way to fund and help our street improvements throughout the community. And then later on, as he became elected to council, we were able to work very closely with him on many different aspects while he was on the city council. And it's always been a great honor and a pleasure to work with you. You've carried a very level head through all of it. You have a great way of taking a look at the broader scope of what's going on and see what's happening and making a recommendation. And that has been recognized not only by myself, but lots of our community members and your fellow council members that have enjoyed working with you on subcommittees and other organizations throughout the year. So I would like to begin by thanking you for time on the council. You will be greatly missed, and we will hopefully see more from you in the future as well. But we do have a couple of things for you before we end.
I would like to chime in. Mr. Laherty is a very interesting and experienced person, and he has a somewhat very silent, wicked sense of humor that doesn't that comes up sometimes. For those of you who don't know, he was 20 years with the U.S. Navy as a chaplain, and he was a congregational pastor for 25 years at Emmanuel Lutheran in La Habra from 2005 to 2018, and then he re-upped, I guess, in December of 2020, and at one point was a parish oversight committee working with 15 different parishes. So he brings to our council a lot of experience and talent. In La Habra Heights, he has put in time, energy, and used his talents. He was chairman of the Roads Committee for over 3 years, starting in 2016, and he was elected to the council in 2019. He has worked on many subcommittees, including helping get the helihydrant, on the Investment Advisory Committee, and those guys are getting extra interest for our savings account. He's been on the Audit Committee, and whether he wants it known or not, he was on the Trash Contracting Committee also. He also actively supports many charities, including Meals on Wheels. Local government is very important. Democracy depends on participation and involvement, and you can't please everyone all the time. And trying to get consensus is very, very difficult. Many cities have suffered because they can't find capable or willing individuals like Dennis Laherty who are willing to step up and deal with the many issues that we always seem to confront. So on behalf of the residents and myself, we appreciate so much the time, effort, and energy you have given to La Habra Heights, and wish you much happiness and contentment going forward.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, a little bit. A lot of people don't realize how much work there is that go behind the scenes, and Dennis has done a lot of work behind the scenes. And he is involved heavily in the helihydrant. I worked with Dennis on that, and that was a lot of moving parts to put together on that, because a lot of organizations had to come together and get that to work with the Habitat Authority and the LA County, the fire department and everything. And Dennis did a really good job with that. And like I said, he was on the Investment Advisory Committee, and also he's helped with the fire department. So behind the scenes, you don't see all the work that he's done, but you just see him up at the council meetings, but there's a lot of work that he's done behind the scenes, and you're definitely going to be missed. So thank you for all the hard work.
Dennis, so a couple things. Number one, you and I met when I was chairing the EPC and got to know each other a little bit with the helihydrant and some of the work going on there. But I'll say we really got to know each other when I came onto the council. And, for someone that was a little anxious and nervous, you were a good mentor. Some other things that you've helped me with, I truly appreciate. Dennis, you're a kind, good-hearted individual. Thank you for, sharing. Thank you for caring. And, thank you for bringing the compassion I think we need sometimes on the council.
Thank you. I've been honored and enjoyed working with you. Among your many characteristics I value the most are the times we've disagreed. As you know, we worked together on a couple of ad hoc committees. And when we have disagreements, we talk about and so forth. Sometimes you won, sometimes I won, and sometimes a disagreement would stimulate a new line of thought, which would be a third line of thought, which would be something we'd develop consensus with. But you're very good in building consensus. Like I say, I actually, although emotionally I prefer to be agreed with, I prefer your times we disagreed more, because it's been very constructive for me. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you all. Is anybody in the public? Okay, now it's Mr. Laherty's turn. Comments by outgoing council member.
I most certainly want to acknowledge the council members at this dais who really worked with me, supported me, and I would say educated me in many ways. As I've thought about the last 5 years, it would have been really impossible to connect with the city council without your help, the help of the four of you. And it's been just tremendous when I think about that. I would have been something of an ignorant Lone Ranger had it not been for you. And I thank you greatly for that. And I would also like to say to Greg that whenever I've left a position, I've always kind of been curious, who's going to replace me and how is that going to go? And I have to say that I couldn't be more pleased that you are taking this seat on the council and replacing me. And I have no doubt that you will be contributing much more over these coming years. And I think it's just a wonderful gift to the council, but also to the city. And finally, I do want to thank the staff. The staff's role for me has been giving instantaneous response to questions. And it's been remarkable. Any time of the week I can call, I can stop by and get the answers I need to continue on with whatever task that I'm pursuing. And the quality of the staff has just been tremendous. And I really, Rafferty, you extended your appreciation of me. I would say I would have been totally lost without you and other members of the staff. And so I certainly thank you a great deal.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think at this point,
And if I could say just two last things, and I'm going to turn my back on the residents for a moment and speak now as a resident. Two things. Vista Road has not yet been repaired, and I still have 3 containers that belong to Republic.
We'll see you around.
we're doing it together. And the beat goes on. The oaths of office.
The next item on our agenda is item number 8, which is the oath of office and seating of newly elected council members. We have the administration of oath of office for council member-elect Carol Engelhardt and council member Greg Steffler. And then we will also have comments by newly elected council members. But if I could please have Ms. Engelhardt and Mr. Steffler join us up front with our esteemed Planning Commission alternate, who will be providing the oath of office for the council members.
Okay, let me introduce myself since it won't be a mystery. My name is Peter Espinosa. I'm a almost 40-year resident of La Habra Heights up on Dorothea Road, Chief, where our motto is keep the trees trimmed and the brush cleared. Not to worry. Okay. I'm also a retired judge of the Los Angeles Superior Court. So I'm now going to administer the oath of office. We're going to do it simultaneously. And I will do my best to pace myself. If you need me to repeat anything, please let me know. Please raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. All right, congratulations.
Thank you. Well, this says comments by newly elected council members. So I'll defer to Mr. Steffler if he has any comments.
It was an honor to run for election in this city. I was asked during the candidates forum what was my favorite thing about the city, and my favorite thing about this city is the people of the city. This is the most eclectic and interesting group of people I've ever met in my life. Everyone has an opinion, and by God, most of them are well thought out, so I probably will not do perfect in this job, but I'll do my damnedest to do what's right. I enjoy this opportunity. It wasn't something I really sought out, but there are things I'd like to accomplish, and among them is my slavish devotion to the general plan in this city, but as it relates to land use development. So land use development is an important element of the city. The peace and tranquility and the beauty of the city is made better by intelligent land use development and by competent code enforcement. So if I have a reason for being here, it focuses on that. Now, that doesn't mean I won't do everything else I'm supposed to do, but that's sort of the way that I force myself to enter this new part of my life. So I appreciate the 1,400 odd people that voted for me. Please feel free to yell at me if I do something that offends you and may or may not be responded to nicely. It probably will be, because I'll tell you this, I never in my life, in 80 years of living, I've never believed I always had the right answers. Invariably, when I think I'm right, I ask somebody a question and they convince me I might well be wrong. So feel free to do that with me, and thanks again to the people of the city.
I'll just briefly say thank you to all the people who voted for me. And I grew up here, left, came back, and it's a real special little town. And I'll try to do my best to keep the spirit and the ambiance. And as Greg said, if you have complaints, let me know, and we'll try to do our best to work with you all. Thank you very much. Okay? Okay, select mayor and mayor pro tem.
I guess I'd like to nominate John Pespiza to be mayor.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Mr. Zazula?
Yes.
Mr. Bergman?
Yes?
Mr. Steffler? Yes. I'm a yes. And Mr. Pespiza?
Yes.
Will you accept it?
There's a condition.
We'll double your salary.
Well, do I do Mayor Pro Tem or does he?
Technically, John will run. We'll get you moved over in a second once we. But yeah, now would be the time if someone would like to make a call for
Yeah, can I
Mayor
have
Pro
a
Tem.
nomination for Mayor Pro Tem?
I would like to nominate Greg Steffler for Pro Tem.
I'd like to nominate Carol Engelhardt for Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll second Carol Engelhardt.
Mr. Bergman?
Yes?
I think
wait.
I need to do that, sorry.
I'm so, oh, yeah, I made such a big deal out of it.
Mr. Bergman?
Yes?
Mr. Steffler? Ms. Engelhardt? Yes. Mr. Zazula?
Yes.
And John's a yes.
And while we change your seats, we do have a couple of things for Ms. Engelhardt as her term as mayor. I have something from Senator Archuleta, and we do have a senior field rep from Janice Hahn's office here with a script. So if you'd like to come up front, Ms. Engelhardt, we will present you with a couple of certificates for your time as mayor. We just wanted to thank you for your time as mayor over the past year. We've accomplished a lot of things. You've done a lot of work. We've pushed through a lot of issues, and you have been the one there leading the charge and the fight with it and making sure we get things done and done in a timely fashion. So I wanted to thank you for your time as mayor, and I really have enjoyed working with you over the past year as mayor, and continue to work with you as Mayor Pro Tem as well. The senator did drop off a certificate. So from Senator Bob Archuleta's office, he'd like to congratulate you on your time as mayor and all the dedication and work you did. And I'll hand it over to Ivan.
Thank you so much, and good evening, everyone. As it was said, I'm here representing County Supervisor Janice Hahn. We're here to honor the 1 year of service as mayor for the small but mighty city of La Habra Heights. And first, I do want to congratulate Dennis for his years of service. Congratulate our newest council member. We look forward to working with you, and the newest mayor. Mr. John Pespiza, congratulations, and we look forward to working with you. So, Carol, on behalf of Supervisor Hahn, I want to present this proclamation that we have on behalf of the 10 million residents of this county. Supervisor Hahn is glad to not only call you a colleague, but a friend, and we look forward to continuing to work with you because we know you're not going to go anywhere now, especially in your position as Mayor Pro Tem, so congratulations.
Know that Ivan is the chairperson of the Habitat Authority, and I guess you'll be speaking later on the election results, right? Or are you leaving?
No, I'll be here. I'll be here.
He's also a very interesting fellow, grew up in San Pedro, and he well represents Janice Hahn.
Thank you. Living in Downey now, so a little closer. My commute isn't as bad. But since you mentioned it, I also want on behalf of my board of directors and our executive director Andrea Gullo, congratulate the mayor, congratulate our newest council member, and again congratulate you, Carol, for your year of service, especially during the election cycle of our ballot measure. So it was great seeing you at all of our events. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to item 10, council member committee assignments. So there's a list of committees here with who's currently assigned. Rafferty, do you walk through these, or you want me to?
I can walk through and help get us through this one. So the first committee we have is one of our committees we have here. It's an Investment Advisory Committee. Current delegates to that committee are Brian Bergman and was Dennis Laherty. So if there is somebody who's looking to nominate and or stay on this committee, we'll take.
I mean, I'd like to stay, but I need a partner.
Investment Advisory Committee typically meets like the third Wednesday quarterly, but sometimes we do have a special meeting here or there depending on when investments mature and where the market is.
And the meetings are rather short, aren't they?
Generally rather short, usually no more than an hour. Usually half an hour to 45 minutes at the most.
Sounds fine.
We have a second there.
Okay, so the delegates for that one will be Mr. Bergman and Mr. Steffler. Our next is the Audit Committee, the Budget and Finance Committee. Currently the delegates are Carol Engelhardt and Dennis Laherty.
This committee really doesn't meet much, if you're interested in it, Greg. It deals with the yearly audit, and
I'm happy to do this as well.
recruit you.
If I could offer, I'd also like to be a new alternate to the JPIA.
So the next up is California Contract Cities. So currently the delegate is Brian Bergman and the alternate is Dennis Laherty.
I'd gladly stay, but we need an alternate.
Yeah, I'll take the alternate for that.
The next is California Joint Powers Insurance Authority. This one is typically, the current one is Carol and city manager is the alternate. This one, the mayor serves as the delegate and the city manager serves as the alternate for the CJPIA. So this would be Mr. Pespisa would be become the primary, and the city manager will serve as the alternate to this one, according to their bylaws.
Now, if the mayor's not able to attend, is it just the city attorney then, or sorry, city manager that would go?
City manager that would go, yes.
Okay.
Our next item is the Hillside Open Space Education Coalition, HOSEC. Currently, delegates is Mr. Pespisa, and the alternate is Ms. Engelhardt.
You want to swap that?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, so just swap the two.
New will be Engelhardt, and alternate will be Pespisa. Next up is the LA County Sanitation District. So this one, typically the mayor serves as the delegate and the mayor pro tem serves as the alternate for the LA County Sanitation District.
So we just swap.
We can swap those. The next up will be League of California Cities. Current delegate is Brian Bergman and the alternate was Dennis Laherty.
Need an alternate.
I'll do the alternate if no one else.
Norm, are you interested in this?
I'd be interested in it, but I'm more interested in the in SCAG. I could be the alternate. I'd like to do SCAG as my primary choice.
Okay. All right, so an alternate for LOCC? Greg?
Sure.
I'm sorry, who's the alternate?
Who's the alternate in the league at California Cities?
Greg.
Okay.
The next item is Southern California Association of Governments, SCAG. Our current delegate is Norm Zazula, and the alternate is John Pespisa.
I prefer to continue.
I'll be the alternate if no one else wants it.
Sounds like you got it.
Okay, new delegates will be Zazula and Engelhardt. Wildlife Corridor Conservation Authority, WICA. Current delegate is John Pespisa, and alternate is Norm Zazula.
Do you want to be the delegate?
If you'd like, I could do that, yes.
So just flip the two,
Okay.
unless someone else wants to be the alternate.
I think it's important we go to these meetings.
Yep.
Okay. New delegate will be Zazula and the alternate Pespisa. And our last one is the Los Angeles County City Selection Committee. Typically, the mayor serves as the delegate, and then there's an alternate. This is a as-needed committee. It's not a regularly scheduled meeting. It is as the county has to appoint.
What's its function?
They will appoint committee members to like homeless issues and groups and boards, Metro, things like that. Is a large association with that. So you would go and attend and appoint people to those committees.
I did get a call, from the mayor of Bell, that he's running for Metro Board and he was soliciting votes?
No.
And I told him I wasn't going to be mayor anymore. Oh, he didn't call
He
you?
did not call me.
They meet this time they were going to meet in Paramount, and they approve people to the library committee or the homeless committee or something. I have to admit, I didn't do a very good job on it.
Mayor, would you like to be the delegate, as the mayor is typically the primary delegate for that one? And then we would just need an alternate.
Yeah, that was my assumption.
I'll be the alternate if no one else wants it. We probably should pay attention to it.
All right, new delegate will be Mr. Pespisa, and alternate will be Engelhardt.
You got everything you need?
Thank you very much.
So actually, Mayor, you should, if somebody could make a motion approving everything you just did, because some of these agencies get funny sometimes.
I'll make that motion to approve all the names as we discussed.
Second,
All right, the vote. Brian?
Yes.
Greg? Carol?
yes.
Norm?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
I did want to say, last year, staff needs to notify the agencies, particularly the sanitation district. They're kind of picky.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, council comments.
Yep. Any comments from the council?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Janice Hahn was sworn in for her last term, and she requested that all the mayors, was it 31 or 37 cities in her supervisorial district, come downtown to the Hall of Administration and parade with their city flags. And it was quite an impressive ceremony, and Ryan and I went, and it was quite impressive. Anyway, I brought you back each a small token of from the supervisor. That's all. It was quite an affair.
All right.
Okay.
Norm?
Yeah, at this time, I announce the appointment of Steve Blyden as my appointee to the Planning Commission to fill the vacancy created by Greg Steffler's election to the City Council. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Not to be outdone, I'm appointing Joe Lucas, a resident on Cloister, to the Planning Commission. I thank Rick Brooks for his service today. Rick will stay involved, obviously, in code compliance, I'm sure, and will continue to serve the city in the way he always has. John's a professional engineer, a mechanical engineer. He's an executive with Tempore Energy. He was born in Hacienda Heights. He went to Los Osos High School. He has a master's in business administration, and he's a registered professional engineer. I think you'll find him to be a wonderful addition to the Planning Commission. It's been quite a long time, in fact, since Bruce Douglas, that we've had an engineer on the Planning Commission. And one thing the Planning Commission can always use is professional help in terms of dealing with the engineering issues that arise during construction. So I'm pleased to announce John's appointment.
We will be bringing that item to you in January to make all those appointments official.
Any others? All right. Moving on to administrative reports. Ready?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll get us started on that one. I'll keep it brief. For Administrative City Manager's report, a couple of things. We have scheduled our first quarterly cleanup with WARE. It will be taking place on January 18th at the park in a similar fashion as we've done in the past. So it'll be the first one that they put on, and you'll start seeing some more information about that get posted on the website and through Guac Talk and other information out and about through the community about our first quarterly cleanup. We were speaking with WARE earlier today about bins. They have or should be receiving their additional bins. They needed to order more bins, more trash carts, as we've had lots and lots and lots go out to the residents and people requesting additional and things like that. So they have been waiting on an order from their supplier. It should be in this week, so they'll be starting to get those out on the field, back to residents. I know it was some residents still have the Republic carts, so once they have their carts back in hand, they will be swapping those out with the residents. And I would also like to thank our historical committee for the festive decorations you see in the council chambers. Every December, the committee comes in and decorates the council chambers to give us a little bit of festive flair for the season. They've also put a nice bits of cookies and refreshments and punch and juice out in the lobby for residents and council to help get them into the festive mood that we're in. So I just really like to thank the historical committee for all the work they did in here to make our council meeting a little bit brighter, but also the good work that they do helping to preserve our history of the Heights. So they're a great little committee, and they work very hard, and even Councilmember Zazula has been helping out quite a bit with them recently as well. So I'd just like to give them a great shout out and thank you for all their hard work. That's all I have.
Before you move on,
Yeah.
On the topic of WARE, a couple of things. I've noticed that they've started putting out some type of little bucket without any instructions or notices about what they're to be used for. Also last month, I think we had asked them to get some information out in the mail to residents about the bin transition, and since we didn't quite meet the initial timeline, so that people know what to do and when to put their bins out. And then lastly, and if I need to have a meeting with WARE, I've noticed in social media several people still struggling with the service that they're providing, missed pickups, trouble getting a hold of their customer service folks, commitments not being met. Now, again, I'll take it with the filter of social media, but it still seems like there's a lot of noise around the service that WARE is providing, and we're into month 3. So if you could communicate that to them
Definitely communicate that to them. Yes.
Thank you. I don't know if any of the other council members have any feedback from their folks about WARE, but I sure am hearing still quite a bit.
I haven't heard much, other than I'm sure it's the same emails you got.
Well, I didn't even bring up the emails because I know they're all still addressed to Rafferty, so at least most of them are, so I didn't even bring up those. All right, moving on, unless there's any other comments from the council on the city manager's report. City attorney.
No report.
Okay. Community development.
Community development, so in the month of November, we issued 11 building permits for permit fees of just over $9,000. Well, there was 2 code enforcement complaints that were submitted, so we have 20 active cases and closed 5 cases. We issued 4 stop work orders in the month of November. There's 62 active unpermitted construction cases. They closed 9 in the month of September. And in the month of November, we did 1 development application that came in. So we have 63 projects in the pending under review category, and we approved 3 projects. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
No questions? All right. Fire chief. I see one of your colleagues out there pacing back and forth. Are we expecting?
No, I was not expecting anybody else to
Okay.
speak. But I do have some information that you'll be happy to hear. Let's start with the fire apparatus. The long-awaited Pierce fire apparatus. A group of us took the arduous trip across the country to beautiful Bradenton, Florida, where we met with Pierce officials and we actually inspected the completed fire engine. There were some squawks that needed to be addressed that Pierce guaranteed that they would handle for us before they shipped the fire engine via regular roads. They're going to drive it across the country to Corona. I'm hoping before the end of the month, and then we can start outfitting the fire engine with the equipment that we've bought, and also setting up with the new radio systems that are compliant with LA RICS. Just a very good trip. It was good that we all went out there, and just such an accomplishment to finally see the closure of that project. As well as we had a fire this month. It was a fire on Nabal and Dorothea. I'm sorry. I was just about to leave off duty, and I had sent my truck in to the city of La Habra for maintenance while I was going to be on this trip to Florida. And so there I was in my Dodge pickup truck with one handheld radio, no turnouts or any type of safety gear, and I had to run this fire. So thankfully, the fire was contained to a single floor. There was a lot of smoke damage. The people had built a very high 12-foot ceiling with plywood as a fire break. It kept the fire contained to the area of origin. It did smoke the place out pretty good, but we saved the house. We were helped by both LA County Fire and Santa Fe Springs. Both came in and mitigated that problem. We limited the loss, and I think that house is going to be, they're going to have a quick turnaround on that. Also, the fire chief's report here, as you can see, it's been a pretty average month, 56 calls this month. We average about 2 a day, and there's nothing of any import here in the fire chief's report. Any other questions I can answer for the city council?
I just wanted to congratulate you for making the news on the mountain fire.
Ah, yeah.
And your unit was showing right in the middle of the news, and I was watching CNN, and I saw the unit there, and I thought, oh, this is great. La Habra Heights gets publicity for the first time.
Not the first time, actually.
Well, the first time in my life, though.
It is very nice to see when we do deploy our fire engine out there on a state mission that somehow we end up being in front of the camera. That is good for us and good for the legacy of the La Habra Heights Fire Department, the biggest little fire department in the country.
Yep.
Rafferty, is the family doing all right that had the fire? Have you heard of any requests from them for assistance? Or, because I know there was people asking about if the family needed anything.
We've had some conversations to check on them with a few times. Chief Martin has had a few check-ins with them as well. They're doing okay. Day of, we offered to get them connected with Red Cross if they needed any assistance as far as lodging and things like that. And they were okay. They were managing everything on their own. So now it becomes the process of rebuilding.
Good. All right. Thank you.
Was it at Coban and Dorothea?
Right where Coban and Dorothy.
Okay.
Together, yes.
And then a final note, because Ivan is here, I was persuaded by LA County Air Operations to invite Ivan to take a trip up in the Helco vehicle. It was a Bell 412, and we took him up above the helihydrant, which is now known as 192 Yankee. That's the official designation of it, to look at the brush mitigation issues that we're dealing with there and to get to some kind of consensus as to what that's supposed to look like. I think we did come to an agreement. I spoke with Chief Syok from LA County Air Operations, and we're going to arrange to have the camps from Camp 19 crews out of LA County come down and mitigate the area, take some pictures, and have what right looks like officially per the LA County Fire Department, what that's going to look like. So that'll be an operational resource for them when we have fires on in the Puente Hills. So that's a big success for us. Thank you, Ivan.
All right. Any other comments? Questions for the chief? None? All right. Moving on. Deputy Beltran.
Good evening, Council. We had one domestic violence this month, or last month. 1 vehicle burglary and 5 traffic collisions. That was it. Any questions?
How are we doing on the overweight vehicle citations? Do you have a
Every day we average around 5 of them,
5 a day?
5 a day.
I think Rafferty, at some point, we should probably agendize looking at making, rather than a moving violation, which I don't think we see any real revenue from, to repair the damage these vehicles are causing to the roads, to look at maybe changing, to see if we can do a municipal code violation.
One suggestion, maybe a bigger sign on the northbound or southbound lane. We got 3 signs, but they're maybe 14 by 14. Maybe a bigger sign coming southbound. You got plenty of signs going northbound. I've counted 5 before they get to the single lane road.
Yep.
And that gives them plenty of time. And I've seen big rigs make the U-turn on this right in front here.
Yep.
So they can turn around. Once they're into that single lane, it's almost impossible.
So Rafferty, maybe you can reach out to LA County Public Works and see if we can get some better signage. I'm all for a lit sign if that's possible. I would think with the solar technology these days, we could get one that lights at night. Big flashing.
Yeah.
To keep the overweight trucks off of Hacienda in particular. Thank you, Deputy Beltran.
You're welcome.
But that is something that maybe next year we can look at, is the possibility of introducing a municipal code that will bring the fines more to the city to deal with the damage these vehicles are actually causing. Okay. All right, moving on to the consent calendar.
So on consent calendar tonight, items 13 through 18. The first item is waive all readings of ordinances, resolutions, and meeting minutes on the agenda. Item 14 is approval of warrant reports for November 2024. Item 15 is approval of treasurer's report for October 2024. Item 16 is minutes of the November 12th, 2024 regular city council meeting. Item 17 is the meeting minutes of December 4th, 2024 special city council meeting. And item 18 is the 2025 city meeting schedule. They can be, if anyone would like to pull, you can pull or act as a single motion.
Does anybody want to pull anything? If not, can I get a motion?
Motion to move approval.
If I might, I need to abstain on items 16 and 17.
Okay,
Second?
all right. Call for the vote. Brian?
Yes.
Greg? With the abstention? Carol?
Yes.
Norm?
Yes.
And John's yes. So it looks like we have a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. This item before you tonight is for a protest hearing related to unpaid brush clearance costs. As you know, every year we have a robust brush clearance program, and we just thanked our Chief Alcalde a little earlier tonight for his work. But as they go through the process of doing the work, those that do not comply with the requirements for brush clearance, the city does go out through an abatement process and do the work itself. And through that process, we go back and lien the properties for the cost of the services that were done. We do have one property that is up for lien tonight. So the action tonight would be for the City Council to overrule any protests if offered during the protest hearing and adopt resolution number 2024-31, confirming the report of costs incurred by the city and authorizing the assessment as liens to be placed on the tax rolls effective December 9th, 2024, is the recommendation today. If you have any questions, myself or the chief would be happy to answer.
Any questions?
I have a couple of questions. Has the owner responded to the previous citations?
The Chief Alcalde had been trying to work with this particular property owner on having them do the work. They didn't complete the work, and also reached out with them to provide the invoices in time for them to be able to pay those invoices before filing the lien, and they did not respond to those.
Okay, and have there been previous liens on the property because of the brush clearance?
This particular property, there has been previous liens in the past. It's not a consistent one where it's every single year, but there has been abated in the past.
Do you know offhand what the total accumulated liens are at this point?
At this time, I do not know the total amount of liens on the property.
Well, I kind of got you blindsided on this. I apologize. I noticed if went on Redfin and apparently the property is currently for sale for $70,000. And if it's going to be a $10,000 lien, hopefully if the lien has to go through, plus whatever the past expenses, that's a significant part of the proposed sale price of the property. So that's a concern. At some point, maybe the owner walks away from. Not saying this owner is going to do that, but that's just a concern. And the main reason I mentioned is perhaps we ought to take a look down the line at a better procedure for these types of events. Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, I'll open the public. Any public comment on this item? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion.
Close the meeting. Close the meeting. Public meeting's closed.
Closed, okay, I'll close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and lien the property for the unpaid brush clearance.
And adopt resolution.
And adopt Resolution 2024-31, a resolution of the City Council of the City of La Habra Heights, California, confirming the report of costs incurred in connection with the city's brush clearance program, confirming the assessments and liens set forth in such report, and directing that such assessments be collected on the property tax roll.
Question of order to the city attorney. Do we need to separately address the overruling protests or comment that there have been no protests to overrule?
That's implicit in the approval of the resolution, but with your statement, it is now overruled.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Brian?
Yes.
Greg? Norm?
Yes.
Carol? John's yes. All right, let's move on to administrative items.
The next item before you is item number 20. This is an agreement with EMS QI Partners for EMS coordinating services. So this is something that will help with the fire department in their tracking and coordination of our paramedics and all of our EMTs that we have on hand. I will hand it over to Chief, and I believe Captain Jorgensen is here as well to give you a little background on the request to change agreements and move forward. So I'll hand it over to Chief.
City Council, so the background on this is that in order to maintain currency in both EMT and in our paramedic program, we need to have ongoing continued education. It goes on hourly. You have to document the hours. Those have to be submitted to the EMS authority so that we can maintain our emergency readiness. When I first came into the position of fire chief, we were contracted with UCLA for a subscription monthly for this service. It was $2,200 a month to pay for UCLA to come down with a nurse educator to address all of our crews and put them through their CE. This year, they raised the price from $2,200 to $2,880, and without any warning. And because I didn't have an alternate, I went along with this new contract or this new amendment to the contract. However, there are stipulations in the contract that say that they can only raise the price of the service 3% per year. This increase that they did represents a 42% increase on what we were paying before. Luckily, our paramedic coordinator was able to find an alternate company that would contract with us, and based on the stipulations and what we are required to do, all it takes is a letter to UCLA to terminate their contract. And the suggestion that I would be making is that we go with EMSQI Partners, who are charging basically a little bit more than the $2,200 a month. So our cost savings for the year would be about $5,000. Mr. Jorgensen, is there anything else that you can fill in on this?
Yes, Chief. So essentially, just to segue, the cost savings will reflect between $5,000 to $6,500 annually, and we're gonna right now currently UCLA is asking for $35,500 annual, and this company is asking for $29,000 with a 5% increase every year thereafter. So right now the upfront initial cost will be $29,000, and then next year, or at the end of the fiscal year, actually I believe at the end of the calendar year, it will, from the time that we actually initiate the contract, will go up by 5%, but the initial cost should be $29,000. End of report.
So what this basically does is we just change our contractor and we save the city money. That's what we're trying to do here.
If I could just ask, I took a look at the contractor and the contract, and it seems to me like they're proposing to offer more services, or a greater breadth of services than we got from UCLA. Is that correct, or did I misread that?
That is correct, sir. Oh, sorry, Chief. Yes, sir, that is correct. Currently, UCLA is offering 4 hours of continuing education to our EMTs and paramedics per month. This company, EMSQI Partners, is offering 12 hours, which is a significant increase considering that paramedics are mandated to have 48 hours of continuing education every 2 years. So
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead.
Do you know other cities that use this company? I noticed the exhibit, it has San Marino written on it.
Yes, ma'am. San Marino, and to my understanding, after speaking with the owner of EMSQI Partners yesterday, South Pasadena has also signed on with the company.
Have they been around a while?
For approximately 2 years now. And I know the owner of this company. I've known, she has been in the business. She's an EMS educator that specializes not only in fire departments, but also the LA County Sheriff's Department, paramedic, air squad. And she initially started the UCLA Center for Pre-Hospital Care program. When she left, she went into business and now co-owns it with an EMS attorney who is, in addition to the EMS continuing education, is also offering an annual EMS documentation class, a legal documentation class as part of our contract.
And then I had a question on, it's page 2 of 14, item 3.0, consultants' compensation. I didn't catch this. I didn't understand what the last sentence of that paragraph does. I mean, it says it refers to exhibit B, and exhibit B says 29,000, but then it says this agreement shall not be effective unless previously approved by the council if it's for greater than 30,000. So I didn't understand what that meant.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, I did look at that. It's superfluous to this agreement, really, because the council is approving it, and we have a set dollar amount. I think it was probably in there in the general template of this agreement, and so it's, if you want to take it out, we can, even though it doesn't hurt us, and it probably helps us in some weird situations. So that's my take on it.
How would it help?
If somebody tried to argue they were entitled to more than 30. But we can take it out. I mean, it's, like I said, it's not necessary.
Okay, so there won't be any extra services other than the 29,000 and what we need,
That is correct.
I guess. Okay. Well, I say strike it, but
Yeah, we're going to pass a motion authorizing 29, so they can. pay more than 29.
Well, I was just going to strike.
But I'm fine with striking it, if that's,
I have a question through the mayor. Is the insurance the same as we had with UCLA? Or do we, through this company?
I'm going to have to look into that and get back with you.
I mean,
Councilman Bergman.
I guess we should look at that and make sure we're not downgrading the insurance coverage for us. Maybe Todd can take a look at that.
so we can probably work that into a motion.
I'll work that into a motion that we move approval on this with those conditions.
So just to make sure, Rafferty, you've got the conditions right, it's striking that last sentence in 3.1, right?
And verifying insurance requirements.
And verifying the insurance. Or sorry, it's 3.0. So striking the last sentence in 3.0 and verifying that the insurance coverage is equal to, but not less than, or at least not less than what we had under UCLA, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Brian?
Yes.
Greg? Carol?
Yes.
Norm?
Yes.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Captain.
Our next item is item 21. Thank you. This is authorization to enter into an agreement with the consultant for professional services associated with the housing element certification process. The state law requires us to have an adopted certified housing element. We currently do not have one. We have been in the process with one consultant that had previously retired, and then now we have started with a different consultant, PlaceWorks. We've been working with PlaceWorks over the last few months through a technical advisory grant that HCD provides. So we've had some services where we have not had to pay any money out of pocket for us through that process, but now those funds are coming to an end, so it's time for us to enter an agreement with PlaceWorks for the preparation and the work to certify our housing element and all the associated paperwork and things that go along with that. There is about $30,000 that are still left in our current budget associated with housing element consultants for preparation charges. Consultant believes that we can complete this process between $30,000 to $40,000. So staff is making the recommendation that we stick to the $40,000 for make an amendment to that. Authorize the finance manager to amend the budget for $40,000 in account 101-410 PLN 6650. And authorize the city manager into an agreement approved by the city attorney with PlaceWorks for housing element preparation services. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Any questions?
I looked at them. They seem to represent everyone in the world. They apparently have done work for virtually every city and every county, and most of the private enterprises that deal in the areas in which they cover. So they certainly seem to be, and they seem to be the people that drove the HCD into doing this, the freebies in the first round, right, that we've all benefited from. So it seems like it's logical to accept them as a permanent replacement for this housing element. And this is spread all the way through 2009, right?
This one will take us for our current cycle.
This will take us to 2009.
Yeah, so yeah, to cover our 2021 to 2029.
I mean 29, right?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
You said there's 30,000 in the budget, so we're basically adding 10,000 to the budget?
Yeah, in the end, we would add $10,000 to increase that budget item for housing element preparation from 30,000 to 40,000.
Thank you.
All right, so while we're on this topic about the housing element, I did want to just make sure a couple other things were addressed and before next month's meeting. So we had talked, Rafferty, you and I had talked a couple times about getting some written notification out to people that could be impacted and make sure they're aware of the meeting, make sure that So rather than maybe targeting people, would it make more sense to send a broader notification out to be overly transparent about next month's meeting so that people can be here if they're concerned about the housing element?
Definitely something that council wishes us to do. We can send a broader notification out to the whole community of written.
I know there's
letter.
cost associated with that, but are there, I mean, do other council members have a concern about us doing that to make sure that for those folks that can't get, or, can't get Guac Talk or don't see it in the other online electronic media, that we're sending out a hard notice about next week's public hearing on the housing element?
I think this isn't noticed for now.
It's within the context of the housing element.
It's okay to, okay.
It's okay to talk about.
He hadn't stopped me, so I assumed
I have no hesitation telling anybody to stop talking.
Yeah.
Except my wife, but I got issues. But no, we're good.
So, I mean, any concerns with us?
I think it's a good idea, because I don't want a bunch of people showing up in January and saying, what's going on?
Right.
I think we
It's a
can
little
probably,
burden on, huh?
I think we can probably keep it very simple, though. We don't need a detailed letter, and refer them to the Guac Talk and to the city website and stuff for the information, rather than try to put all the information in a mailer or something. Just reference.
Maybe for the folks that don't have access to those, Rafferty, you can say City Hall will have the printed material if you'd like to see it, just and have copies out on the counter for people. So, because I know that there's a lot of people that have a tough time with the online stuff, Brian.
And to that extent, I'd be interested in hearing. I saw that Stephen Blagden turned in some comments to CCD. They were pretty detailed, and they basically requested some changes that were technically, here is correct, they need to be done. My greatest issue of the housing element, with the little I know about it, I've spent some time now on it, and my greatest concern is the subjectivity of it in the discussions between you and the gentleman from HCD. And, you could attempt to read the language in the statutes, you could attempt to read the regulations that have been adopted by HCD. I've been reading that kind of stuff for 50 years, and it drives me crazy. There's no real objective standard for the approval of this plan. It seems like there's a distinction between density and affordability, and that they decide to weigh it one way or the other based upon somebody's subjective view of how it should be done. I think it's awfully important that people understand how serious this issue is, though. I don't want to scare people. I don't want to frighten people. I don't want people to be coming down here with pitchforks. But I don't think that anybody in this city, other than a few of us that have spent time on it, have any understanding as to how serious this is. And we essentially have, come January, we got 7 months to have this done. And we have a very limited ability to understand how to present something to them that is absolutely, definitively saleable. I think the council has to be more intimately involved in the discussions, and that would maybe suggest, Mr. Chair, that we have since these are negotiations and they're legal in nature, it's up to the city attorney to say whether it has to be in closed session or not. But to some extent, I think we have to have a lot more currency updates. Rafferty, your thoughts on that? I just think it's important to do something like that.
So I will say, as to the one point, yeah, it is actually on closed session tonight, the litigation with the state. So you will be getting some updates there that are more litigation focused, for one thing. But yeah, as to public outreach, I mean, whatever the council so directs as to these issues, we are on a time period to get this certified, so the state doesn't rain holy hell down upon us as they have on other cities. And we've attempted to come to a meeting of the minds with them to ameliorate some of the worst things they could do to us, hence, the litigation. But you're right. I mean, it's up to the council. You can put it on the agenda every meeting if you wish, to get as much public input and updates as directed.
And Greg, my thoughts on this are, I thought where you were going was that we should stand up possibly even a subcommittee to specifically deal with these issues.
I do think that.
So I'm more than willing to do that. I think what we should do is get through January, and the public hearing. And at that meeting, for the five of us to think about who possibly, just the two people that probably should head up that effort, because I agree with you. It's going to be a big push to get to the end. I think there are some options that need to be explored. So while it's not really decision-making that I've probably looked at that subcommittee to do, it's exploring the options that are going to be available to the city and possibly even help create some of those options, because
I think that's an excellent idea. Yeah.
So between the five of us, let's think about over the next couple of weeks who might want to, because I see that as a big lift. I agree with you. It's not going to be inconsequential. I've met with a few folks that are, I think, very well respected in this community, in this space, and I think there are other options out there available to us. It's getting our arms wrapped around them, getting some of the details worked out a little bit, because again, the issue we've got is we've got a regulator that's gotten pretty savvy over the last couple of years with what will work and what won't work, and they're calling the city's bluffs on those things. And so we've got to present viable options to the state in order to avoid additional litigation. So
And while doing so, we've got to be cautious that we don't take city-owned and city-maintained property and burn it into this agreement when it probably will never be developed anyway. Right now, the plan has a bunch of city properties, including where we're sitting.
And
we just
I
don't
don't know
want
that
to.
we want to.
Huh?
I don't know that we want to go too far. Let's get you through closed session and get you up to speed on some of the options.
I don't know, I did have a comment on the notice. I don't know, a couple of people have suggested that we make an effort to tell the community that we did try. We filed several amendments and, we've been trying to come into compliance, and that the state, and stress how the state's pushing. So I don't know if we want to discuss that now or later, or...
I don't think we need to discuss it tonight.
Well, the notice has to go out before the meeting.
Yeah, I think the notice can go out with what the current plan is, right? And then I think there are people in this community that are very involved in this space that can bring to the public hearing, or even to the city, other options that we should explore, possibly even before the January meeting.
Oh, okay, Mr. Bergman thought it should be a very terse notice, and I'm not sure. I think we should say our people are smart and they'll read a little more information.
Well, I'm just saying that the notice that goes out to everybody, you don't have to try to put all that information in, that here's where the information is available. You can come down to City Hall and pick it up, or you can go on the website. So it's all, to try to send out a huge packet, that's what I'm getting.
No, not a packet. But
Mainly what I want to make sure people know that there's a meeting in January. Please, if this is important to you, come tell us it's important to you. Make sure that we're assuming that it's important to everyone in the city, and I've got to believe there's some people out there that have an opinion about how this should be managed by us. I just want to make sure they know that there's a date and a time set to come talk to us about that. And also so that if they're interested, to be educated in the direction the city is proposing to go. And that's, I think, the material that Brian's saying they can pick up here.
well, no, that I agree with. I think Mr. Wildridge said there's already a notice on Guac Talk, and you can kind of adopt what's in there.
Yeah, I'm saying just print that, even if we just take that and print it out and have it here so that people that don't have access to Guac Talk or the internet or email can come here and get it as an option.
So I'll make a motion to authorize the finance manager to amend the budget for $40,000 in the account.
Have a second?
Second?
Brian?
Yes.
Greg? Yes. Norm?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
John's yes. All right, 22.
22 is related to some Measure A funds. I'll hand it over to our interim assistant city manager to provide you some background on this item.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, this item is really an accumulation of money that has been coming to the city over a period of years from previously approved bond measures in Los Angeles County. This money is to be used for recreation purposes, for repairing or refurbishing or building new or whatever the public agency wants to do within the confines of the measures. At this point, we have accumulated $163,571 in this account, which is a significant amount of money. And we have other funds that are also earmarked for recreation improvements that come in from similar measures and agencies. What we would like to do is, and in addition, there's another $84,000 that comes from Proposition A and Measure A, which were these recreation measures done over the last 20 years. So that brings to around $250,000 the items that are before you. What we'd like to do is have you review the recommendations that are attached to your report and to approve proceeding with an application to receive these funds. Any project that the funds will be used for has to have, let's say there's 6 of them, they're going to have 6 approvals by the City Council. So there's plenty of time for you to give us direction as to what you want to do, and we plan to come back to you in February with a list of potential projects. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them.
How are we deciding the projects that you're going to bring forward?
What we've done over a period of years is try and accumulate enough money to do something like, let's say, a restroom at the gym, a kitchen at the gym, those types of things that take a little bit of money to do. So we have, I don't know that we're there, but we're getting closer. We also have some state recreation funds. There are other things that people want to do at the park that are smaller, whether it's improvements to play equipment or those types of things that would take less money. So we can do several of those, or we can do a fewer larger things, and realizing that down the road, these funds will be tapped out for a period of years until they're regenerated. So if we have to do a large or costly improvement, that's going to, I don't know where that money's going to come from for a period of years. So that's the process we're looking at, but there is money to do a number of improvements to the park or a few larger improvements.
I'm in support of the resolution. My thought would be, though, that if we're going to select projects, we shouldn't do it internally. We should attempt to do it externally. We should ask the people of the city what they think we might want to put on our project list, and then we as the council should have the ability to look at that and try to prioritize what might be there. As I understand it, at this stage of the game, we're not giving them any projects. We're simply asking for the distribution, and in a timed matter, we'll provide the projects to them, and they'll say yes or no based upon the criteria of the grant.
That's correct. And we do have prior lists that were put together by parks groups. So we have about a dozen projects that were identified in the past. Whether that's current or not, I don't know. But we will take a look at the cost for each of those projects and then bring that information back.
Any other questions?
Well, I assume the council or the public at the meeting, when it's brought back, could add to the list, right? Yeah.
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Norm?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
John Chess? 23.
Thank you. Our next item up is related to the Puente Hills Habitat Preservation Authority. They put out a ballot measure, Measure PH, that was run through this last campaign cycle and was voted upon on the November 5th election cycle. And as the ballots have been counted and turned out, it appears that that ballot measure has passed. So attached to your agenda report tonight is some of the information that was put out by the Habitat Authority related to Measure PH and what some of those funds that are raised would go to do and help and preserve all of the things that the Habitat Authority do out there and in preserving our natural areas within La Habra Heights and surrounding communities as well. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. We also do happen to have Ivan, who is the chair of that Habitat Authority, in the audience as well. And Kathy.
So, Ivan, anything you'd like to add to the discussion this evening on that? Your thoughts? You want to come up to the podium? Because the reason the reason we put this on the agenda was there was a few people that in the city that reached out to me about how the money would be spent, and I know to just so that it's on the record, the money actually doesn't get collected for what, a year and a half on
Yes, because it is a parcel tax, so it will be on property tax, and so people haven't paid that property tax yet.
Right.
So right now, first of all, Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for allowing me to speak. Ivan Sulik, Chairman of the Board of Directors for the Puente Habitat Authority. First of all, I want to thank the city and the voters of the areas that voted for Measure PH for voting in over 68%, over 47,000 votes in favor of the 1 cent parcel tax to go for different things like clearance, rangers, educational programs. Right now that the election has been certified, we're going to be, our board, the board of directors of the Habitat Authority, are going to be moving forward with the process and next steps regarding the measure. There are certain resolutions that must be passed. In addition, as part of this, we also agreed to create a Citizens Oversight Advisory Board that will look at the expenditures and make recommendations to our board as it relates to Measure PH and those funds. We are developing that board as we speak, and from what we are looking at, there will be some appointments from the city of La Habra Heights in that advisory board. And so that is what we're going to take up in our January, starting in our January meetings with our council and Andrea Gula, our executive director, moving forward with setting the foundation and framework as we move forward. So we're not at the point yet of how we're going to spend it, because one, we haven't collected it yet, and two, we have some administrative processes we have to do now that the election has been certified.
Any questions for Ivan?
No, the only question I have is currently we're not on the board, so we might want to have that discussion too, because all the other, we were in the tax area and stuff, and I guess our city attorney would have to take a look at if we encounter any liability or anything like that. But I guess we were taxed on this whole thing, but like Whittier and the other areas, the county areas, are part of the board, which you're on, and we don't have a membership on the board. So we might want to start taking a look at that issue.
Sure, and like I said, that's why it's important as we went to the voters and we talked about oversight and we talked about accountability. We made sure to want to include, because we didn't have to, but we wanted to include a body to look at our expenditures, to make recommendations to our board, to make sure that that body will have representation from the communities who are being taxed. But we always are open to the conversation. I mentioned this to Mayor Pispiza also, that we're open to the conversation. But when we went to the voters, that's why we agreed to create this body for the oversight and transparency.
And you still have 4 members on your board?
Yes, currently the board of directors is made up of a 4-member sanitation district, the County of Los Angeles, the Hacienda, representative of the Hacienda Heights Improvement Association, and City of Whittier, which this was the Joint Powers Authority that was founded back many years ago. But we, throughout the years, have always thrived to work with the city, work together to address your concern and problems. So even though you don't have a seat on the board, we've done our best to try and mitigate and work together in cooperation.
Might be interesting to try a rotational membership, directorship. I'd love to see that, because then you get different ideas. So a given city could exist for 2 years or 4 years or whatever, And then you bring another city in with a slightly different demographic, slightly different issues, and slightly different talents, and who knows what could happen, right?
Thank you for those comments, Councilmember. I'll take that back to my board.
Anyone else? Yeah, so I'll second Brian's comments. I also think that when there wasn't a parcel tax, it was a different environment. But now, and again, we have plenty of time to work through this, but now that it's not funded through a tipping fee and through investments, it's actually funded by a parcel tax on the citizens of La Habra Heights. And we're the only city that's kind of an outlier on the board, that we don't have a seat on the board. The other cities that are being taxed have representation on the board, that it would, I think, absolutely benefit the city of La Habra Heights to have a seat on the board to determine how this money is spent and not be, I hear the advisory committee. I think they're good things to have to get that input on how money should be spent, but advisory committee input is advice and not necessarily going to directly influence the outcome. So just, I think, something to consider and take back to the board. And
Of course, Mr. Mayor, and you have my commitment that I will take this back to my board and continue and open that conversation. I'm committed to working with the City of La Habra Heights, with you, Mayor Rafferty, your city manager, to make sure that we as partners, as neighbors, can work cooperatively for the benefit of all the residents and the wildlife that exists here in the wildlife corridor in the Puente Hills area. So you have my commitment on that.
I do have a comment. I was on our council a long time ago when Powder Canyon was purchased, and it was a different environment then in terms of fire. And I know I really love the habitat. I'm so happy it's in our town, or Powder Canyon is. But I really think somebody needs to take a look at the potential for fire, because we have homes here that are very close to large brush areas. Mm-hmm. So it's
yes,
one of the things I think we need a little more voice in is, as I say, it's a totally different environment than in the 90s in terms of fire.
Right. Which fire mitigation, fire clearance is very important to us. That's why we endeavored a couple years ago together, council member yourself and former council member Dennis, who was here, and even John. I don't think you were a council member then, but was very involved as a citizen as we were moving forward with the heli hydrant. Andrea Gullo, my executive director, has made fire clearance a very important issue in making sure that we do that for all of our communities, especially in La Habra Heights. Each year we even do extra field clearance, fallen trees on trails, excessive growth on trails, goat grazing. We've done tree removals. In La Habra Heights alone, in 2018, we've done 17 tree removals. In 2020, 27 tree removals. In 2021, 53 removals, and more so each and every year. Just since July, we've done over $12,000 of change orders for vegetation and tree clearance that needed to be done for safety issues. These are things that we don't have to do, but we do it because we understand how important this is to your community, to the council members, to the mayor who's here, that we do these certain things as good neighbors for the community. And so those are the same partnerships and the same mindset that we're going to have moving forward in investing the dollars that the voters have blessed us with.
Thank you.
And John, before you step down, I do want to just thank you real quick. I don't know that we thank you publicly for what you did with pushing the heli hydrant issue through. So I know you single-handedly kind of helped drive that issue through. So I know we've never done that publicly, but I do want to recognize your leadership role in ensuring that the right outcome happened, and then hearing tonight, the work that you're doing to ensure that that remains a viable asset for the citizens of LA County and La Habra. I know that I did confirm that during the Jabaram fire, that was used. There was a concern about the brush clearance and made some of the pilots very nervous. So I'm just ecstatic that you're willing to
Of course.
engage with our chief and get that issue resolved.
Of course,
So-
because our mindset, we're habitat preservation. It's in our name to preserve native habitat. But in the end, what is the most danger to native habitat is fires. What's danger to communities is fires. And so we have to do our part. And that was a great way that we came together with the city, Supervisor Hahn, the water district. All of us came together to make that happen. So I want to continue that same momentum going forward.
So thank you for.
John, can I make a comment, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
God? Oh, no.
No,
John, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. I want to say I do agree with the point you made about now that we're part of a taxing district, we should not. We should have representation on the board of directors also at this point. Things have changed, and we don't want to get to the point where people of La Habra Heights feel like second-class citizens or somewhat not totally involved in Habitat Authority. We need the Habitat Authority. The Habitat Authority needs La Habra Heights. And the best way to recognize that is to put a representative from La Habra Heights on the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm.
All right, any other?
I just want to thank Ivan, too, for getting involved and doing the flyby in the helicopter, because you get a total different perspective of it in the air coming in and seeing what the pilots have to deal with the brush and the trees around that area. I mean, I went up with them in air operations, too, also early on when we were doing the helihydrant, and I don't really like helicopters either myself. I'd rather be on fixed wing aircraft, but that's beside the point. They're well maintained and all that, so I felt safe. But you get a total different perspective when you're in the air and you're looking down on where you're drawing that water as far as what's really safe for them and the brush clearance around there. So I'm really happy that you did that and that you're helping us through that issue.
No, you're absolutely right. Being in the helicopter, feeling the weight, seeing the different debris and dust as you're going down, learning that as you're taking up the water, you have to watch the back of the helicopter. Trees could get in the way, could be a potential hazard. So actually being in there, being next to a pilot of those helicopters, like you said, provided a very different perspective than just being on the ground and just being like, oh, look, they're just there hovering, grabbing water.
And that's our biggest concern up here for our citizens is the fire, and that's why we pushed hard to get that helihydrant in there. And thank you very much for working on that with us. And so please work with our chief on the brush clearance, for the 200 feet and all that around our structures and things, and that'll be good goals.
Brian, I share your trepidation about flying a helicopter. I've done failure analysis on 2 helicopter crashes, both fatal, and I'm afraid of them myself at this point.
All right.
They're both fatalities.
Any other? Ivan, also thank you. I know this wasn't, you weren't here just for this, but thank you for sticking around and thank you for addressing the council. I appreciate it.
Actually worked out. It's because you had 2 for 1. I was able to do 2 for 1. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
I don't think we need anything else, right, Rafferty? We just wanted to have the discussion. Okay. All right, item 24, the reappointment of Catherine Houwen to the Greater Los Angeles County Vector Control District and Board of Trustees. Catherine, I know you're here. Do you want this nomination, right? You're up for another stint at doing this for us? Yes. Okay. Just wanted to make sure before we voted. Would you like to address the council at all, or you're good? I'm good. Okay.
Only address you if you say no.
All right, do I have a motion?
I originally got on this.
Why don't you come up?
I've been on vector control, I think about eight years. And when I originally got on here, I got a call from the council saying, oh, by the way, we put you on as our representative for the vector control. And every time we have meetings, I talk about things that our city staff do for, protection of people in the citizens of La Habra Heights by sending things in the Guacs Talk and all the other various meetings that we have, like they have booths at our various events that we have here. just putting the word out there to protect yourselves from mosquitoes, because there has been an increase in the local mosquitoes having like dengue fever, which is, it's really bad all over the world right now, but we even have it in our local mosquitoes. But when people know that they've been doing their due diligence when it comes to their mosquito control, but they're still getting bitten, they know to go and talk to their neighbors and say, hey, you need to go and dump, all the stagnant water and so forth.
Yeah.
'Cause
No,
they're
and I
gonna come back.
also saw West Nile is on the rise again this fall, so it sounds like it's probably cold enough now that we don't have the problem, but
And these are tropical diseases. I
Yeah.
mean, they do carry malaria as well. We don't want that in California.
All right.
But they know that La Habra Heights is very, very active in the control. So, and they always have some comment they make every meeting about it. But I got on it because I just got a call from saying, by the way, you're going to go and take care of vector control for us.
they're willing to do it for another 4 years. Thank you. All right, do I have a motion?
I move that we reappoint Catherine Houwen to the Greater Los Angeles Vector Control District.
Second.
Norm?
A second. Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Greg? Brian?
Yes.
I'm yes, thank you. Catherine, thank you so much for your volunteerism. All right, item 25.
Yes, item 25, consideration of holiday closure schedule. This year, we are in the holiday season. The city has December 25th, Christmas Day off, which would be a Wednesday. We also have January 1st, New Year's Day off, which is also a Wednesday. As we have the past few years, staff is asking to close City Hall between some of those holidays. So it would be, City Hall would normally be closed on Wednesday, December 25th. We're asking to close on Thursday, December 26th, Monday, December 30th, and Tuesday, December 31st. We would be normally closed on Wednesday, January 1st. We're also this year requesting to be closed on Thursday, January 2nd. That means that we would have normal operations of City Hall until Tuesday, the 24th, and then restart on January 6th, which would be that coming Monday. During that time period, fire and EMS and sheriff's operations run as normal. And typically, staff will treat this kind of time as ability to be able to come in and work and get things done that normally we may not be able to get done as the phone rings and people come in and out of the counter all day long for that. So it's a nice bit of time for staff to be able to filter through City Hall and get some work done when there's no one around for that. We also do ask greatly of our staff. We have a very small team. We don't have a great number of people, and the one thing that keeps us going is their ability to pitch in when we need it and keep going. So it's a lot. I ask a lot of our staff. We have an amazing staff, and they love the community dearly, and that is our recommendation this year for holiday closures. If you have any questions, happy to answer.
Any questions for Rafferty? Motion?
I move we adopt the proposed holiday closure schedule as listed on agenda item 25.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Norm?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Greg? Brian?
Yes.
Don's yes. All right, item 26, project updates and deadlines.
Before we get off of that one, maybe Rafferty can explain that that all emergency services and everything, or maybe you did already and I missed it.
He did.
That everything is open down here as far as emergency services and things.
Yes, emergency services will continue as operation. Our fire active, response side of fire will be here as they normally do every single day. Chiefs usually filter through as well and interface with the departments as they go. Obviously, Sheriff's Department will continue as their normal operations for that. Even building inspections, we still do scheduled building inspections during that time. So
the deadline to get a request for an inspection is before the 24th, right?
Yes.
Because you won't be taking appointments after that date.
At the moment, if you can get it in by the 24th, that would be great. We're looking at a contingency for potentially scheduling in that time period outside of it.
Okay.
But yes, if you know you need an inspection, please, if you can have it in by the 24th, then we'll start booking it out. Actually, our front office staff right now have got the schedule laid out and are booking through the end of the year right now.
I'm assuming that during this period of the 25th through the 6th, we won't lose any ground on the housing discussions. I mean, would there normally be none in that time period just because everything slows down then?
Pretty much as we kind of see, everything kind of slows down during that time period. Also, consultants will continue to work through that aspect of.
Is that a schedule? I mean, do you talk to this Fidel fellow on a schedule?
No, not necessarily on a schedule.
We've got a closed session after this, Greg, where we can get you caught up on that. All right. Any other? We voted. We're good on that one? Okay. 26.
Just some quick updates. Obviously, you heard from the chief. They had fire department personnel went out to look at the new Type 1 engine, did a driving test and a pumping test, and hopefully we will be seeing the new engine very, very shortly. Solid waste collections, we continue to move through this transition period. We were just talking with them about they believe they should be having their carts delivered to them on the 11th or 12th. So the end of this week, and they'll start rolling them out into the community next week and swapping out people that still have Republic containers. They are also been delivering the smaller organic food waste countertop little ones that go out. We'll work with them to get some additional information out related to that.
I have no idea what that.
There's supposed to be a flyer that goes along with that one as I deliver it out to people, so people kind of know what that is for. So we will.
My wife thought it'd be a good kitty litter container, so
yeah, that would be a good use for that one.
Well, mine came with a flyer inside. Told me how to
there was nothing.
open it up and put stuff in it and close it. Very simple.
Did we get a quarterly cleanup date yet from them?
Yes, we have. The first one is January 18th.
He announced it.
Yes. So January 18th, we have the first couple scheduled, and we will be getting some flyers made up and out to the public through Guac Talk and our other various
There's
forms
a lot of public interest in
getting stuff out for that one. So it will be similar. So it'll be large containers for people to dispose of bulky item. They'll have e-waste and shredding available. So it'll continue as people know it in the past. So it'll be all the same services. They will have e-waste and shredding in the upper parking lot, and lower parking lot will be the dumpsters and the lineup for the dumpsters for people to dispose of bulky items. So yes, and we will also at that date we work with Mr. Dominguez to look at coordinating another Hacienda Road cleanup. And we've kind of worked to coordinate those two events in the same time, so we'll begin to gear up for that as well. Some of the other ones, CDBG, so walking ramp for accessibility improvements at the park. We have a design build RFP. We have worked with CDBG and incorporated the additional language that we need for that. City attorney is going to be reviewing that proposal right now, and it should be coming to council in January for you to review and authorize us to release the RFP to solicit bids for design build for the ADA ramp at the park. Hacienda Safety Improvement Plan, so Signal at Avocado Crest, should be starting mid-January is the anticipated date for actual physical construction to begin for that. So you'll start seeing some activity out there here, tree trimming and things, getting some clearances ready for their work areas, and then they'll start with their underground and ramps and all the other aspects of that in beginning in January. So you'll see some stuff moving around there as well. We've been working with the county on our Measure W stuff, and next month we should be bringing something back to council according to the regional project that we have been granted. So we'll be bringing some additional information next month related to that. In the guardrail project, we have actually had some conversations with the county about them preparing the designs and specs for it and something they could do. We have submitted a request to them for them to provide us a cost to do that. So they should hopefully be giving us a cost proposal to see if that would be an appropriate venue to prepare designs and specs for guardrail replacements in the city. So it's kind of where we're at quickly.
Well, I was out walking today, and there was a LA County Public Works, 2 cars at Ganter and Cypress, and they said they were looking at the guardrail. Is that this?
Yes, we've submitted a proposal with locations and it, so they're looking at that to develop the cost for potentially doing the services.
So I was checking with some of our weather folks at work. It looks like it's going to be a pretty dry December for Southern California. However, the models show that we could be in for a fairly wet January, February. Just want to make sure that we're still on track with our storm drain cleaning. And I know we had looked at doing some mitigation activities based off of last year's heavy rains around doing some temporary upgrade to some of our storm drains to make sure they're ready for whatever presents itself. How's that project coming along?
Those are moving along. Angel, our maintenance worker, has been out clearing a lot of drains and getting things up and ready. They have a plan to get some sandbags out here kind of over the next few weeks into some of those drains to help get water channeled into those drains, keep them clear, and also looking at utilizing some contractors to do some additional work on some of the larger drains and larger projects that it would take more than one person to tackle those.
And we are on track to get that done by next few weeks, or?
Next few weeks, we're working on that one, and into early January, we should be pretty well set.
And because did you have something on that?
Well, I'm still very concerned about Hacienda between Canada Sombre and Reposado.
Rafferty knew that the little wink in my eye, he knew what I was referring to there.
I don't know why we can't put sandbags or something.
I think that's one of the areas that I have asked him to do.
Okay, great.
Along with ensuring that our friend to the north that even if it's temporary, has cleared his property so that we don't have the debris running off of it. So that might be another thing we need to do, is remind him that he does need to remove the material that's alongside the road. I saw that he had started doing it, but it looks like it's not complete yet. And then the last thing, is there an update from FEMA? I did get a note about the piles of debris at the lot. So do we have an update from FEMA on when we might start getting some money? Because the other thing we need to do too is we did temporary storm drain maintenance up along Hacienda where we had the massive debris flows, but there's still a bunch of debris up there that needs to be removed because it's going to come back it's just been pushed aside and it's going to come back into those drains.
Yes, we've been working with FEMA. There's a permit we need to get to be able to remove the stuff off of the Western Hacienda lot. We've been working with them to get to the appropriate agency to be able to be granted that permit that we need. Seems to be very difficult. So everybody we've gone to kind of says, oh, no, you need to go talk to this agency, or you need to go talk to this agency. So hopefully we should have a very definitive answer here in the next week or two, as we've engaged our FEMA rep to help us kind of get to the bottom of who will actually issue that permit to us, or if it's something we can issue ourselves, so we can then get rid of all the debris that's on Western Hacienda. Specifically, we'll have to bring it to council for you to authorize the expenditure of the monies, because it's more than what we can do at a staff signing level for that. But also, we're looking at some options for the drains at the north end of Hacienda, that the best way to kind of get some of that debris out of there so we don't refill the drains.
And FEMA has agreed to pay for that work, or are we going to have to pay for it?
That work up there, no. They don't want to touch that end of Hacienda.
So FEMA's not going to pay for the mitigation activities on the northern end of Hacienda?
They're paying, letting us get reimbursed for the cost of the cleanup and those things, but are not looking at no mitigation measures for the hillsides on Hacienda.
Oh, so they're not willing to mitigate the hills?
No.
We should probably then look at, we should probably have our engineers give us an opinion about what we should do. So maybe we can agendize that next month. Have a specific topic about FEMA and kind of an update so that we know what FEMA is willing to cover,
yep,
and then what we as a city need to do. Probably try to prioritize.
We can definitely bring that to you.
You know, we had such a disastrous spring, and we were so unprepared for that, that we have a strong obligation to do whatever we possibly can do to mitigate it if we have another threshold event this year. And I know it's hard because you have to have other government agency approvals, but reality is that, you know, it's an implied and legal obligation for us now. We know it's there, and I just don't think we can wait. We can wait terribly long to do it. I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission sometimes, just because it presents a real and present danger. And so, I mean, we were lucky, frankly, given the level of damage that was done in the city. We were lucky it cleared so well. We're lucky we were responsive to it. But I just don't. On the Planning Commission, I was always troubled by the fact that we never extended stormwater controls beyond the county rules. We have the power to do it. We've never bothered to do it that I know of, that I did my term there. And I mean, literally, we had a Planning Commission member whose retention pond failed and took out his hill. So those things can be kind of disastrous. I don't know exactly what the impediments are, but I think we got to try to, whatever we have to do to try to remove them, we have an obligation to do that. We know we have an obligation to do it.
So yeah, let's go ahead and agendize it for next month. Include the kind of an update on FEMA, what FEMA is willing to pay for and what they're not, and then maybe Rafferty, you can bring some recommendations on what hasn't been mitigated yet from a hazard perspective, and some rough. I don't know if we can even get rough order magnitude of what it might cost to get that done.
I think the January meeting's going to be very long, because that's the housing element meeting, isn't it? And I want to bring up code compliance.
Well,
It'll be a big meeting.
Again, code compliance, maybe we can punt to February because, I mean, what we're talking about as far as this issue is what.
No, this is more important.
You know, that hopefully the rain will wait. I mean, rain looks like end of January, beginning of February is when the models are showing that we could have the significant Pineapple Express type issues again. So again, time seems to be on our side, but I like Greg said, there was a little bit of luck to last year. There was some extraordinary efforts by staff to make sure that it got mitigated as quickly as it could, but I do want to make sure that if there are things that we could be doing now, that we're doing them. All right, that's all I've got in the administrative items. Any individual council member informational items or meeting attendance reports they'd like to voice? All right, hearing none. I'll call for public comments. Any public comments? I don't have any cards, but if anyone that has stuck with us for the last 2 hours would like to make a comment about anything.
Can we have Quan make a announcement and an update for something from EPC?
Yep.
Good evening, Quan Lee with Public Safety Emergency Preparedness Committee. I'm happy to report that our renewal application was accepted, and we do have a certificate in hand, so I'll give this to Rafferty, but the residents could go ahead and download it from either...
Maybe Quan, just take 2 minutes, because the last time you talked about this at council was like almost a year ago when we got certified.
Yeah.
So maybe just tell people what Firewise certification is, what it means.
So what the National Fire USA Program Certificate allows with the Firewise USA, insurance companies have incorporated their rating model to provide discounts. So if you present this certificate to your agent, you will get a discount, or it's automatically downloaded in connection with the database with Firewise USA. So 2 things that has to happen is home hardening and defensible space. And that has to be the entire city's commitment, because we are the only city in the whole USA to be recognized as an entire city under this certificate. So, that's something we should, be proud of. I know working with Fire Chief Alcalde, it took us probably 6-8 months to go through the process and build this framework
for a 3-year project in a Firewise USA plan. So we're in our second year. First year, we did some educational sessions. We did some cleanup. We had a couple Saturdays where volunteers came up. You know, we cleaned up Hacienda Road, picked up debris. And going back to the weather storm from last February, one of the major issues was non-removed brush after clearance. Folks, so basically people would whack their trees or the weed and just leave it there. And when the rains came, it had nowhere to go but down. And it clogged up all our drainages, water became flood, damaged the homes on Hacienda Road. So it just doesn't end with just brush clearance, but we have to remove the debris away from, the exposed areas. So we will continue to have other programs starting in January, including additional education. And we need more folks to get engaged. We also have identified 5 fire zones working with Genesee, which is an emergency notification system. We are recruiting volunteers to head up a community either from zones 1 through 5. That information is also available. And if you would like to get more information, definitely attend a January EPC meeting, which would be the 3rd Thursday of January, and we'll get more information out. But the beginning, this takes the whole village. And we have some great volunteers that are engaged, and we have a full EPC committee now, all 5 of us. So if we still need additional volunteers, we would like what we call pod leaders to reach out to maybe 20 residents within your circle of your residents and get in contact with your residents, get their cell numbers, have a monthly meeting, check on each other. What resources do you have available in case there is an emergency situation? It may be the fire is going to be our greatest. Earthquake is another great exposure. We may have a landlocked individual who may need oxygen, may need other support systems, and this is the best way is the neighbors getting to know each other and get out of your comfort zone, go knock on the door. They're going to know you more effectively than a volunteer coming up there with an orange vest because of the lack of trust of all the frivolous stuff that's going on. So we'll have more information on the webpage and also on the La Habra Heights Facebook page, where there's a lot of information being shared there. And then if you have any questions or have any additional ideas, please feel free to reach out to the city. They'll get a hold of me. And definitely we want to build on this thing. And I'm proud to say, we've done a great job the last 12 months with City Council, the EPC, volunteers like John Dominguez, who's really head up the Genesee program to get us, mapped accordingly to identify if there is a notice. And there's an app you can download, which is Genesee, and that will alert you if there is a fire event, what's the best way to evacuate out of your zone, because the road that you may be accustomed to may be blocked as a result of fire. So you're going to need to identify alternate routes, and the Genesee system will kind of guide you in that. I'll take any questions if you folks have with the council.
Quan, congratulations on achieving that certification. One of the things that is coming up before the Planning Commission and ultimately here is the question of the fire modification rules that were adopted, the Octa rules, and how they square with our screening requirements, our 50% new construction screening requirements. And one of the things that I've observed over the last couple of months, and particularly a week ago at Richard Fuggio's house, is that we seem to be ignoring the fact that most new construction is constructed in a hardened state to begin with. Everything is designed to be a hardened building. It's designed to avoid ember transmission into the attic, into dry spaces. There's a tension now, and emergency preparedness needs to be part of this discussion. Hopefully we'll be able to calendar joint workshops to talk about this issue, because we want to encourage people to screen their houses with safe plants, as long as they can assure us that the houses have been hardened against the invasion of flying embers. I asked for a meeting with the fire chief next week, and I'm hoping we can move forward on trying to figure out how to modify a strict enforcement of the fuel modifications in the 30-foot zone to account for the hardened characteristic of the house. And I would hope that I would think that's going to be a big issue for all of us to face, Planning Commission, Emergency Preparedness Council. And one of the best ways to do that, I hope, is we can calendar quickly a workshop to talk that through so we all have our oars in the water going the same way. But thanks for all your work.
You're welcome. And just in closing, regards to home hardening, it's an all year round process. Brush clearance doesn't just start and end on May 1st, but it's a 365 as. We could see typical weather pattern that we normally have in October, late October, early November. We're having it now with Santa Ana winds predicted this week. And as Mayor DePista said, our weather pattern in late January, February could be possibly much stronger than what it was last year. That's what the forecast is in the insurance industry also. So begin your process, remove debris, anything that could cause water to move towards your residents, start cleaning that up. It's much easier to be proactive than reactive. When you try to get somebody when the event happens, it's going to be tough. But if you start the process now, it's going to cost you much less and much easier to do so. Like I said, any questions, EPC could use additional volunteers. We're going to continue to have these more volunteer cleanup sessions next year. So, it's a great way to meet your neighbors. And it's a great time. And if you have the additional time, get to know these folks because, we got some great folks in this community. And, it's the pride in what we have. It's a small community, but yet, we pride in the rural life that we live, but we got to take care of ourselves. So thank you and good evening.
Juan, thank you for your leadership on the EPC and getting not only the initial certification, but this renewal done. I know, as you well know, insurance is a continuing struggle for a lot of people in the Heights, and anything that the city can do to help ensure that people keep insurance on their homes and have affordable insurance is important.
If people need a copy of the certificate, it will be on our city's website, and we do keep copies here at the counters. If somebody wants to stop in, you can pick up a copy.
Any other public comments before I adjourn the meeting? Okay, so I'll go ahead and close the public session of the meeting. We do have a closed session. City Attorney?
Yeah, we have closed session on 2 existing litigation items, one with the state of California on the housing element, and then the Pave West case briefly. That is all.